Alright guys, in today's video I'll be showing you guys a really free-to-play strategy on how to beat floor 30 of the tower mode. Now before actually showing you guys the strategy, I want to just talk about the enemy mechanics so you kind of know why my strategy works. Now basically, there are two enemies here, right? There's the main boss, which is the slug, and he is gonna do an AoE nuke with his special skill on turn 5. And what that basically means is that if you actually allow him to pull off his special attack, it's gonna do huge amount of damage, and very likely your characters won't be able to survive. Which is why in my strategy later on, you will see me trying to actually break the enemy by turn 4. And the other reason why you really want to break him as early as possible is because when he's not broken, he will actually take 90% reduced damage, whereas when he's actually broken, you will be doing 200% extra damage. So that's kind of why you actually want to break him as quickly as possible. Okay, now in terms of the other enemies, those frogs, they're also very annoying, mainly because on turn 3, they will be doing their special attack, which would be draining your curse energy to potentially to 0 if they all happen to land on your characters. And that basically means on turn 4 you could be essentially starting off with 0 curse energy, and that's going to be very very annoying to some of your buffers who may not even get enough curse energy to actually use their buff. And that's going to be one thing you have to really take care of, but I do have a way around that, which I will talk about in a bit as well. Okay, now let me show you the actual team setup. Now, as you can see, it's very free-to-play friendly. The only SSR character you need is going to be Yuta. Now, he is going to be both stamped and also dupe 1. However, I don't think they're actually necessary. I mean, the stamp definitely doesn't matter because even if you don't have a stamp, you can actually level up to level 97, whereas I only had him at level 100, so it's like 3 level difference, which hardly makes any difference. Now, whether you actually need him to be dupe 1, I will also argue potentially not if you actually level up his skills and recollection. Now recollection wise, you can see I only have it at level 55. So if you actually max out to, let's say, level 80, that can potentially compensate. The other way to do that would be also level up your skills. Now I do have his ultimate skill at level 9, but bear in mind vast majority of the so basically Yuta will be using his ultimate attack to actually break the enemy. I remember what I talked about earlier. Before the enemy is broken, he will take 90% reduced damage. After he's broken, he will take 200% extra. And you will see in my game clip later on, Yuta's ultimate attack doesn't actually do much damage, so I kind of made the mistake here of actually leveling up. In theory, the right skill to level up should actually be Yuta's skill 3, because that's where majority of the damage will be going, and also Nanami's ultimate skill, and I have both of them only at level 7. So that's another reason why I say even if your Utah's not dupe, I still think this strategy will work for you guys, but you probably just need to level up Utah's skill 3 and also potentially Nanami's ultimate skill, and that should be able to compensate for the fact that your Utah may not be dupe, and also obviously level up your recollection level as well. Okay, so that's kind of on the character side. Now, in terms of recollection side, it's also very free to play friendly. Basically, I have 3 SR recollections and then 2 SSR, and both SSR are the ones you can get for free by beating formidable foes. So essentially, everyone should have access to everything I have on the screen, maybe with the exception of Utah and whether it's depending on whether you actually reroll for Utah or lucky enough to actually pull him. So that is basically the only blocker, I guess, for this strategy. Okay, now in terms of the strategy itself, so basically you need there are a few things you need to be very careful about. And it does take a bit of RNG, which I'll explain why. Basically, Yuta need to be able to reach his ultimate attack on turn 4 in order to break the enemy to prevent him from doing his massive AoE nuke. And as a result, you want Yuta to get his ultimate attack as ready as soon as possible. And that's kind of why I have this recollection, which is actually able to increase his ultimate gauge. Now, even when this happens, if this is the only thing you're going to do, that's actually not going to be quite enough. So what you actually also need to do is make sure Yuta actually trigger his passive, which is this one, which is only triggered when an ally other than himself is no more than 60% HP. And what you're going to do is you're going to recover the team, but also it's going to actually increase basically a bit of a buff, which is actually helpful when you actually want to do the nuke, and also actually recover ultimate gauge for yourself. And that's kind of what you're also going to need in order to actually get his ultimate ready by turn 4. And how are you going to do that? Obviously, this is a bit where RNG happens. You kind of need the enemy to actually attack you to make sure your HP are somewhat low. But there is is one way of how you can help, which is actually use this regression. Because what this regression is actually very nicely done here is that it's able to increase ultimate gauge, but also reduce your own HP. So basically, I'm using this on Kaito so that Kaito can also reach his ultimate attack early, so that Kaido is able to do a combo attack with Yuta. So that's kind of what's the increased ultimate energy part. But also it's actually going to reduce Kaido's HP. And that's actually going to allow you slightly more consistently to actually charge up your Yuta's ultimate gauge through his passive ability of healing. So that's kind of the reason why I have this reflection here. Now for Camel, this one basically the character can be whoever from the Kyoto school. The main thing you really want is actually just this recollection with this buff at dupe 1. And basically what this dupe 1 buff is able to do is increase your curse energy, curse technique. But this is actually a permanent buff, so even when the character dies, it's still going to be present. And because this buff actually scale with the number of units from Kyoto school, so that's kind of why you can put whoever you want at Kyoto school, and he can die like immediately on turn 1. It doesn't really matter, the buff will still be present on your Nanami and Yuta who will be doing the damage. Now, in terms of the buff on Nanami, basically you need Nanami to actually, in terms of recollection on Nanami, you need Nanami to actually do a lot of damage on 10-6, and that's because well, you are breaking the enemy on 10-4, so basically you only have 10-5 and 10-6 to do that extra bit of damage, because the enemy will be taking 200% extra damage when he's actually broken. And what that actually very nicely lined up for Nanami is that I can actually use Pride on him, because on 10-6 I would then be able to actually stack Pride twice, and because Nanami actually do a lot of attack and he is also a red unit, he can actually do a lot of damage in this battle. And because Nanami for all of the other turns he will be buffing himself, and therefore he would never actually trigger the effect of Pride beforehand. So therefore that guarantees you're able to get 2 stack of Pride by the time you actually use your Nanami's ultimate attack. And then as for the last character, who's Yaga, obviously another buffer who's red, so can do a bit of damage as well. The recollection you want is going to be this one. And the reason why you want this recollection is that because your Yaga will be joining the battle slightly later than other characters, you want to ensure that he still is able to reach his ultimate attack as well, so that he can do a combo attack with Nanami. And this buff, this recollection is perfect because not only actually buff the damage for Nanami when he actually do his ult, but it also increase your own ultimate gauge to ensure that you would definitely have your ultimate ready in order to combo up with Nanami. So that's the reason why I pick all of those characters. Now, there's one other thing that you will see me doing in my gameplay, which is very important, and that's going to be Kaito. What you're going to do with your Kaito. So for other characters, a bit self-explanatory. Your Nanami and Yaga will just be buffing every single turn. Your Yuta will be starting up with his skill 1 because you still want to conserve a bit of curse energy. But then on turn 3, you can go all out on your attacks because you can just use your skill 3 to do a bit of chip damage on the main boss. Because what's going to happen is that on turn 3, remember, of those frogs, they're going to drain your curse energy. So it's very likely your Yuta will be getting back down to 0 curse energy anyway. So might as well use it on turn 3 for a bit of a chip damage with his skill 3. Now, the important thing you need to know on Kaito is that Kaito is able to increase his curse energy for the whole team with his buff, which is his skill 3. And just like all other buff in this game, this can be stacked as well. And basically what you want to do with Kaito is actually you want to use his normal attack on turn 1 and then use his skill 3 back to back on turn 2 and turn 3. And what this is going to allow you to do is that even though all of those frogs would have drained up all of your curse energy by the end of turn 3, because you have actually 2 stacks of this curse energy increase buff on all of your other characters, all of the other characters at the start of turn 4, it's actually going to immediately get 30 curse energy. 30 curse energy because I leveled up level 6. So basically, if I just use it once, it would be 15 curse energy. Because I stack it back to back, it will be 30 curse energy for my entire team. And that basically allows my Nanami and Yaga to still continuously using their buff for that turn, even though those frog enemy would have drained their curse energy to 0 on the turn before. So that's kind of why it's very important for your Kaito to do a normal attack on turn 1 and then use his use his skill 3 on turn 2 and turn 3 for that back-to-back stacking of the curse energy.
任務なら果たすまでだ。
注意が必要ですね。
次で仕留める。これも次代当主の務めさ。
しっかりしろ。
片付けます。
考えろ。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
あっ
補修の時間だ。
死なせない。
最善の一手を
しっかりしろ。
手早く
考えろ。
授業を始めよう。
後ろは任せてください。
気張っていきましょう。
死なせない。
相手の動き。
集中するんだ。
片付け。
考えろ。
では教育の時
後ろ
間だ。
は任せてください。
気張っていきましょう。
死なせない。
相手の動きを観察しろ。
今なら俺でも。
手早く済ませます。
てか準備はいいか。
では教育の時間だ。
呪連訴術。愛してるよリカ。すごい。落ち着け。終わらせる。
気張っていきましょう。
相手の隙を見逃すな。
しっかりしろ。
さて
考えろ。
授業を始めよう。
ここが踏ん張りどころです。
相手の隙を見逃すな。
しっかりしろ。
さて行きますよ。
考えろ。
行くぞ。総力戦だ。これで払い切る。
対象の7対3の点を弱点にする。私からは以上です。
行くぞ。
今です。
最善の一手を常に考えろ。
集中するんだ。
片付けます。
勝つんだ。
行くぞキャシー。せいや。
行きます。では今日はこれで直帰します。